Welcome back to An Audience of One by Genversity, in which we deliver spiritually uplifting and motivational content to individuals who need a reminder that they have worth, that they have value, and gifts that they need to share with the world, and that regardless of how many mistakes they've made over the years, that it's never too late to turn things around and live the life that they were meant to live. At some point in time, you hit that place which was your rock bottom. Sure, you probably could have let things get even worse. You could have drank more, you could have snorted more, you could have smoked more, you could have listened to more, you could have watched more, you could have touched more, you could have consumed more of all of the things that were consuming your soul. But there was a point at which you said to yourself, enough is enough. I've got to change this situation. You've spent too long in your state of despair and along your path of destruction. You've been hurt and you've been hurting. You've hurt yourself and you've hurt others. You could have decided to give in to the darkness of the abyss that you found yourself in, but you continued to strive forward, despite the fact that you felt like there was no end in sight. There was no guiding light pointing you the direction to go in. You came from a point where you felt as if there was no end in sight, complete and utter darkness surrounding you, to the point at which you felt like you could almost feel that you were close to escaping this trap, as if you were trying to poke through a membrane that was holding you inside. Now that you've broken through that membrane, which was acting as a final wall between you and the darkness that you were in and the other side, you're overcome with this immense amount of joy that you can finally see the light, that you can finally see that there's a way forward. But that overwhelming feeling of joy is quickly met by a feeling of despair as you start to recognize how far you've actually fallen. You feel excited at this moment where you're starting to feel purpose and you're starting to feel as if you can finally see what you should be doing with your life. But it's also crushed as you see the damage that you've done over the years. You look back at where you once were, and you think about every moment of every day, of every week, of every year that has passed, and you ask yourself questions like, what could have been done with all of that time? How far ahead would you be had you not fallen off the path? How much could you have accomplished had you not sabotaged yourself over all of those years? And that can be a very painful and dangerous moment. You think that when you're in the middle of the abyss that you recognize how bad things truly are. But you never truly understand how bad things really are until you get outside of it. There are some that will stand at that crossroads despite all that they have been through, and they will be overcome with the feeling of despair that they feel at the moment they recognize how much destruction they've done to their lives. And they will allow that despair to cause themselves to become overcome with guilt, within which they'll drown themselves. And they will fall back in from where they had come, because that wave of despair will take the strength right out of their legs, and they will begin to waver, because they have become too focused on where they were instead of where they are going. Do not give in to that feeling of despair. Yes, you have this gut-wrenching feeling to the point where you feel sick, and you're being hit by waves of negative feelings with what you have become. But do not give in. You fought too hard to get out of the darkness. It's like tearing the bandage off of a wound. Yes, it stings, but it needs to be cleaned. And the greater the trauma, the greater the wound. So ripping off that bandage is obviously going to hurt, but it's needed. It's at this moment that you're overcome with joy of the fact that you recognize you've finally woken up, and you see that it's possible to find yourself again. You're starting to remember who you once were, or who you want to become, and what your goals and aspirations are. And for the first time in years, you finally feel like moving forward is possible. But when that feeling hits the concrete wall of the recognition of how far you've fallen, it can be devastating. But you have to remember how horrible it felt in the darkest depths of that abyss, and that you would have given anything at that moment to feel some sense of direction or purpose, even if it came at the expense of the horrible feelings that you hold inside of yourself right now, because of the recognition of who you once were, or who you could have been, in relation to who you've allowed yourself to become. This pivotal moment right here is going to change the rest of your life. It's going to be one of the biggest trials that you face on this journey, which is moving forward despite the feeling of despair and disgust at your actions or inactions that you've done in the past. On the way down into the darkness, you passed this point before, just from a different angle. As you started to transgress and fall into the evil that's prevalent in life, you've said to yourself, I've made a mistake. The greatest mistake that anyone could ever make. There's nothing I can do to erase what has been done. And I'm no longer worthy of being who I thought I once was. So there's no hope. And if there's no hope, then what's one more transgression except confirmation of who I feel I've become? I was supposed to be better. I was supposed to be perfect. Any mistake is the gravest of mistakes. And so if I've made any mistake, I've made them all. And so yes, God can forgive anyone, just not me. And with this, you passed into the dark side of the equation where your transgressions were your comforter, because one of them justified all of them. Because when you're unforgivable with one, no amount can make it any worse. Like a wolf licking the blood off of a knife to his own death, you comforted yourself with your own transgressions as you self-medicated the pain with the very same self-sabotage that caused the pain in the first place. Yet here you stand at these crossroads again, trying to come back from the abyss. And instead of repeating the same mantra that kept you in the darkness for all of those years, you need to remind yourself that your next step is not your first. You had to take many steps to get here, so what's one more? You had to do a lot of good deeds to get here, so what's one more? You have to remind yourself, yes, God can forgive anyone, so why not you? And if God can forgive anyone, He can forgive you. Waking up can be a beautiful yet painful experience, and like most opportunities for growth, the beginning is the most difficult, but you can't allow your remorse for the things that you've done in the past cause you to fall back into the depths of despair. If anything, you need to let that pain be a reminder for why you're never going to go back. You've lived many years on the fumes of if only I hadn't done this, if only I hadn't done that. If only I'd done all the things that I said I was going to do. If only I upheld my obligations. If only I put in the work. If only I trained every day. If only I prayed into the night. If only I had followed my passions. If only I gave it my all. If only I had changed things way back when, things would be different and I wouldn't be where I am right now. But what about if only you had started today? And here you are. This is your moment right now. It's staring you in the face. You're listening right now to If Only I Had One More Chance. Well, if only you did, what would you do? Would you squander it on self-pity and drowning in remorse and guilt? Or would you go after it? For all those years that you wished you had that opportunity, you have it right now. You have the opportunity right now to go after it and to give it your all. This is not the starting point. You've had to come a long way just to get where you are right now. And yes, it's painful, but that's the price of waking up. Don't forget that back when you were in the middle of it, you would have paid any price to just feel like you had some sense of direction. Well, now you have it, so take it. It's not going to be easy. You're going to feel like you're trying to escape quicksand at first. But if you put in the work and you do what you say you're going to do, you will make progress day after day after day until the point at which you'll feel it unbelievable to where you've been able to climb instead of how far you had fallen, especially considering from where you've come. But you owe it to yourself to try, because life's too miserable from a perspective of inevitable defeat. You have to believe in yourself. And you have to believe that you have the capability to change your life. And you have to believe in God's capacity to forgive you. You have to believe that it's within your capacity to strive to be a better person for yourself and for those that are around you. So you have to recommit to the process. Is it an ugly sight now that you've shaken off the haze of not even knowing which direction to move in to now being able to see how bad it's become? Yes, but don't downplay the effort and the courage that it has taken to even make it this far. You owe it to yourself and you owe it to the effort that you've already put in to see this process through. Sometimes you get that punch in the gut, not because you've just recognized the damage that you've done to yourself, but you start to recognize the damage that you've done to other people. This can cause you to feel even more disgust with yourself because again, you feel as if you've crossed this line where you're unforgivable because of your actions or inactions towards those that you love. Yes, it now hurts deeply that you recognize the hurt that you've caused others. But just as it hurt to recognize the damage that you've done to yourself, it's part of the process that you also recognize the hurt that you've caused others. But the answer to the pain that you feel for the pain that you've caused others is not to give up. That is not how you rectify this situation, and your loved ones do not find solace in your defeat. If anything, the reason our loved ones feel hurt for the things that we have done or haven't done is because they see us as better than we have been. And we owe it to them to not only prove them right, but to exceed their expectations. Some wounds may never heal. Most will leave scars. Some people will forgive you, some won't. But don't sacrifice your existence to the worries of how others will perceive you and if they will embrace you or not. It is quite possible that the best of your existence has yet to be realized. And if you put your best effort forward, it is certainly probable. So who out there is in need of that version of you? I know that you most certainly are. What gifts do you have for the world that have yet to be given? Who are you holding them back from? Don't be selfish with your potential because, quite frankly, you're being overtaken by your feelings. This section of recovery is extremely painful, but is going to teach you so much and make you so much stronger and give you so many lessons that, quite frankly, you're going to be able to impart on others as you continue to progress. There's an amazing world out there with amazing opportunities waiting for you if you'll only go out and seize them. So don't wear your past as a ball and chain that continues to drag you down and hold you back, but wear the lessons you've learned from them as armor. You've allowed your shortcomings to consume your mind and your soul for long enough. Your experiences are going to be extremely valuable to you as you move forward, but also to others as you start to change your focus to helping those around you. You have so much to offer yourself. You have so much to offer your family and the society around you. You owe it to yourself and to everyone else to continue this process and to live the life that you were meant to live.